Welcome back to Foreign Footprints, an Immigrantness podcast. I'm your host, Dan Naderhood. I'm always excited to talk to you guys. We got a nice cold, but yet bright, snowy day outside. Staying cozy inside this old Heritage Hill house that we record in, and we've got some sweets that Rawan brought from Lion Street Bakery. What is that?
Nantucket.
Some pastries. Well, we gotta check in. Highs and lows, peaks and pits. Maxine, can you start us off? How are you?
Sure. I'm so good. I'm so happy to hear all of you guys. Honestly, not being able to physically be with you guys. This is such a fun Sunday tradition, and it sucks not being able to physically be with you guys, taste those yummy pastries with you guys. But I am so excited to start this new year, 2025. It feels like a transformative year for a lot of people, and just like the, actually being like a quarter, of a century and everything, just feels like times are changing, and like I'm a fan of it. I'm excited for this new year.
Me too. We got a lot of momentum building up. I think it's going to be great. Rawan, you mind giving your peaks and pits, highs and lows?
Yeah. So before the new year, I applied for this position at GRCC for an adjunct professor for the personal chef course position, and it was like a month or two ago, so I didn't hear anything back, so I'm assuming I didn't get it. And then I got an email on Friday saying oh, we've filled the position for the personal chef program, but we do have another course that you might be qualified for, you might be interested in, and it's like butchery and like teaching meat fabrication and like how to make like sausages and pates and like condiments and like things like that. And it's a pretty low commitment. It's just like the class is taught like 2 days a week, if I remember correctly. So he was like, we can offer you that, or we can kind of continue to talk about it. The job post has been up for quite some time, which makes me a little wary, because I'm like, why has it been up for so long? But
they're waiting for you.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like it's exciting to it feels nice to be offered something finally after whatever. And I think it would still be, even if we did open Alora at some point, it's a smaller time commitment, so I think I could still do it with everything else that I'm doing.
Yeah,
I've always had 2 jobs, so I feel like it's just another it should be my normal life.
Yeah,
I would have to maybe drop one other thing that I do, but that's pretty. I haven't responded back. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what to say. So I've been asking a couple of people what they think and how I should respond, because he even offered what the pay would be, kind of thing. So I was like, oh, that's serious.
That's low. You should.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not, that's what I'm trying to negotiate. I'm like, why is it so low, or why is that number what it is? It's a 5-hour course, 2 days a week, because it's one of their lab classes, what they call them. So I'm like, what outside of classroom is there? How much is their grading? How much is their teacher meetings, professor meetings, things like that? So that I need to ask all those questions. So I've been asking people what are some of those questions I need to be asking, because I haven't been in I haven't had a new job in 9 years. So yeah, it's been a while. So I need to ask these questions. I'm reaching out to certain people that are in jobs that are constantly changing. So that's exciting. Lows are, I'm just really tired today. I drove back from Detroit this morning and I'm really sleepy. But that's about it. Yeah.
That's good.
Amna, that's exciting, Rawan.
Yeah.
I am great. I haven't been on a podcast recording, I think, in a very long time.
Welcome back.
I guess just to piggyback off of everybody's, I'm just really excited that it's a new year. I feel again, for some reason, the 2025, I don't know, it's just this very satisfying number.
Yeah.
So I feel it's going to be a good year all around. And also, I was under a table on New Year's Eve, so eating 12 grapes, so it better be good.
What is that? That's a Spanish tradition?
Yeah, somewhere overseas. I think it was Spanish or Colombian, something like that. It's the tradition, but we saw it on TikTok. Spanish? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would say Latino.
Oh, well, perfect. We
Maxine,
brought it
did
all
you
the way
eat
over here.
Grapes under the table this year?
Stop! You're gonna take the Latino card away from me.
No,
I did not.
I've never heard of this.
Year. but I did it in spirit. And even my grandma was like, you need to bring it to your party. Like, she was so serious about it. I didn't, but I did do it the next morning. So I'm hoping it still counts.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll count it.
Put it on the books. It's counted.
But besides that, my peak and pit it can be both. So a few months ago, my dad had open heart bypass surgery. So I had to take some time off of work and kind of take care of him. So that's a peak and a pit. I got a little break from work, but also had some other responsibilities. But I guess the good part of that is he's doing really well. Recovery's going well. But the pit of it is I go back to work tomorrow. So after 44 days off. So it's going to be interesting to get back into like a normal routine of having to wake up early, still having some other responsibilities with my dad. So it'll be a lot, but I'm excited to see how I juggle it all.
Happy to hear your dad's doing well after that. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
My peak and pit, I don't know. Even listening to everybody's, I feel like I got no sort of pit right now. It's just been nice because I had that new job. Yeah. New job that's been able to balance my life and work easily. And I can come home and be like happy, not worrying about work. Like what? Listening to music and just listening to the music. So that's been nice, being able to separate work and life and have a good balance there.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my highs was a slow New Year's. So I really enjoy a New Year celebration being kind of a slower, reflective one where it's not too crazy of a party. Let's get together and kind of cheers to the old, cheers to the new, set some intentions. So that's what I had. And it was really nice. Played some table games, laughed a lot, had some good conversations, some deep conversations. And that was really nice.
I love that. That's what it's all about.
It is. Kind of like what it's going to be about today, a deep conversation of womanliness. I'm really excited about this, and I'm hoping to do manliness as well. But both of these topics I'm really curious about. I want to hear all of your perspectives, and I'm curious to hear kind of my perspective as well on like the opposite side.
You gonna mansplain us?
No, I'm like this. It's gonna be like, what do you feel? Because I don't know. So I'm curious to hear like how my perspective can change or what I can learn from all of you. Because I don't know. I've only had really like one example of womanliness from my mom. So I'm really curious. I'm excited to talk about this and learn. I kind of want to start from the big picture then. What does it mean to be a woman?
It's a deep question.
Literally. I don't know,
Yeah,
sometimes
there's
I just live
a
it.
lot there, right? There's a lot of little nuances of, I mean, you tell me, but when I think of what does it mean to be a woman, I think it's a balance of like organizing, because it feels like the women that I am around that I experience have to be organizing people, emotions, like life. Like you take on the responsibility of those that you care about, and to be tender, and to be teaching, and to be providers of like life, like nutrition, emotion. Yeah.
I almost wanted to say like it just depends on the context, kind of how you're saying like you can be organized, you can be kind of the person that brings everybody together, caring, all that stuff. I think the way I view myself as being a woman, that feels really weird saying that. I don't know why.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah, that feels really weird.
Yeah, even when I say it, like being a man, like I'm 33, I'm a man, but yet it sounds funny. Anyway, you're saying being a woman.
And I think this is like something that I've tried to, since like moving out, being on my own, something that I've been like trying to, I guess, conceptualize myself and figure out like who I am as a person, as a woman, etc. And I think a big part of that comes by like figuring out kind of who you were conditioned to be growing up, like with your parents and stuff, and then who you are like on your own in the real world with your own experiences and things like that. But yeah, I think a lot of it for me means like being very independent, having to be like strong and capable of taking things on. And then I guess a big third one that comes to me is like just being the know-it-all, like having to figure it all out. Just like through my experience of like with my immigrant parents, it's like you kind of have to know it. And if you don't, you have to figure it out because no one else is going to.
The oldest immigrant daughter type of situation.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but fortunately also.
Yeah, I really resonate with that, Amna. I also feel like being a woman to me means being like strong, capable, because you have to, or you naturally become the anchor of your family, like quite literally, right? Like, as you know, our mothers, our grandmothers, like, we in the future maybe will have to keep other people alive, right?
Yeah.
Like that, like to me is like, you need to be an anchor. But also, you know, after all of that, after raising children, I think it is naturally the woman's job, whether you're the grandma, the mom, the sister, the cousin, to also kind of keep that family intact. I think they have like such a great role in that, and also kind of showcase that family like togetherness and keeping everybody together. I don't want to say like it's the woman's job to like keep the family together, but in turn of that, of like more so they showcase love and care so naturally that other people reciprocate it. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be like, you know, I bring the family together, but rather like I love to make sure that everybody's okay and that everybody's communicating. And I really like admire my grandmas, both of my grandmas. They're like my favorite people in the whole entire world, and my mom. So they are like my number ones. And so if anything, I feel like I just try to replicate what they have, not even like taught me, but shown me, right, through their actions. So I think that's what it is to me, like being a very strong, anchored woman, but through my actions rather than through my words.
And it sounds like a type of magnet as well. Like provide warmth that when somebody needs it, you're drawn towards that womanliness of warmth and home and comfort.
I almost want to relate that to like society's, I guess, perception of women too. I feel like the perception of women is to be more forthcoming with your emotions versus men in that aspect. So I think that just naturally is perceived by women just through like society pressures and things like that. Kind of maybe having to take on that role more and adopting that role versus like the male figure in their families or around them, their partner, things like that.
From like my perspective as like a Middle Eastern woman, like typically, traditionally, the role of the woman is, you know, to stay home and, you know, take on that role. But I feel like it's evolving, and, you know, like in the Middle, especially in the Middle East, like here, sometimes when immigrants to America that came here 20 plus years ago still have the same roles, or they kept the same roles that they did when they were in the Middle East in like the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. Whereas the ones that are currently living there are living how like more like Western culture is, where women are like getting more jobs and they have like higher literacy rates and have like higher like graduation rates and like things like that, or they're all educated. Whereas they come here and they kind of like hold on to their older mentalities. So like when my mom is teaching me like what it means to be a woman, sometimes she's not super traditional. She's always been like, don't rely on a man for anything. You need to do everything by yourself kind of thing. But there's still some times where like that old mentality like creeps in because she hasn't lived in the Middle East in 30 years now. So yeah, for me, it's just like what I agree with everything that you guys are saying, but it's just like interesting to see the difference between what it means to be a woman, a Middle Eastern woman in the US versus what it is back home for us. And I kind of find myself like going back and forth between what it's like there as a woman and what it's like here. I don't know, it's just like interesting.
Yeah, especially like you're saying, having to be a Middle Eastern woman, because you have that microculture of you and your family and those other people here, and you have the American culture around you. And then you have
I feel like that's what I identify with the most as a woman, is a Middle Eastern woman, because immediately when I'm here, I'm seen as like different. As soon as you just like look at me, they're like, oh, she's not American, she's not white, she's like whatever. So that's very like defining for me first and foremost, and then everything else that goes along with just being a woman in like working in restaurants and like things like that. So, and like just having not being in like lead roles in restaurants and like things like that like irritates me when I see like women in higher level like positions. It just makes me so excited because I'm like, yes, like she got it kind of thing. So without being able to compromise like the emotions, the caring for your family, all the things that traditionally what we're like groomed to be, I guess. Oh, I don't know. Groomed is like a weird word.
No,
Whatever.
Culturally shaped, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rawan, you bring up a very good point. Like I mentioned earlier, like I moved within the last year, I moved out, got engaged, and now I'm, planning to get married within the next few months or 6 months. And kind of what you mentioned is that sprinkling of like the traditional roles. My mom has the same role here in America 23 years later that she had back at home.
You know how to make pizza? You need to learn how to make pizza?
Yeah. Oh my God. When I moved out, they were like, do you even know how to make pizza? Do you even know how to do this? Do you know how to do that?
Damn.
And then
They came hot for you, huh?
Yeah.
You can't move out.
And
You
I was
can't
like,
make bread.
I have YouTube.
It's like a
I'll
prereq.
figure it out. But it was like, so that was also kind of like diminishing of like who I am. Like I'm just like
I'm
not
reduced
worthy.
to that.
Yeah, I'm not worthy of being like on my own or being a specific type of woman that is preparing for that next stage in life because I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. Right. And then it's the same thing now. Like, oh, do you take care of your partner in this way? Do you do this for him? Do you do that? Oh, well, I did this for him because I'm his mother. Or like, even my parents too. Like, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing that. He should. And it's just like, it's never right.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
So I relate to that heavily because I always say this, but like at first, this also needs to be another thing that needs to be studied is like why immigrant parents, when they come here, I feel like they accomplish so much and then like their mindset never like evolves from what it was when they first came here. Like
they don't go to therapy.
Yeah, they're like so resistant to that change where it like infuriates me because like I try to explain to them so many times like in America it's different. Like everybody works and then on top of working you have other extra things that you do. You take care of your health, you have different hobbies, all that stuff. They don't have that back at home. Like either you take the role of like being a stay-at-home mom and you work, that's your job, and then the man is out making a living so you have time to do that. Whereas here it's different. And it's always like it's not enough. Like you should be able to do everything that they used to do back then and that they do traditionally while also working. Like, no, that's not fair.
Yeah, too many cups to fill.
Yeah. And it's like it just never feels right. It feels like you're always trying to battle for like being womanly enough. And even like I know this is kind of like a buzzword nowadays, or it was like a few years ago, like feminine energy, where it was like going around like, oh, you're not feminine enough because you take out the trash, or like you have more of like an independent mindset and things like that. It's just like you really can never win because it's like either you're not being womanly enough or you're not at all, and it just feels like you're never enough to fill that role because it's a big role to fill.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of like conflict between being a striver, being somebody that needs to come up and achieve something new in this world because we're immigrants, and then also be a soft mother home. Like there's two things that really conflict, and the parents, the older generation, don't understand that conflict, it seems.
I think that's why I think building a community of other women around you that are trying to do the same thing as you is super helpful, because then you have that like village of people to take on certain responsibilities that you needed in your life. Like, hey, I need you, like say if we had kids or something, I need you to pick up my kid from A, B, and C because I can't because I'm busy doing something else. And that like support means, I think, the world to anybody who's trying to like get everything done, because we do have to like wear so many hats in like the workforce, at home, at like being parents, being all these like different things that we're being pulled in like 18 different directions at one time. It's nice to have a community that you can like rely on, whether it's like your friends or your family or whoever it is, people who understand you or are in the same role as you, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I want to refer back to when I was saying in the context, because it's like you're a woman at your core, but then you're a woman, you're a child of your parents, daughter, and then you're a partner to your partner as a woman, and then you're a daughter or a friend, and then you could be a mother, and then it's just like a never-ending, never-ending role, how you show up in those different aspects as a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about this whole time. We all kind of unconsciously defined ourselves and in a different way as a woman. For example, when I started off, I defined myself as a Mexican daughter. I almost felt like that was, you know, when somebody asks you like, oh, like what are 3 traits to describe you? I think my first thought of like womanhood began with being a daughter. So in my head, I'm like, okay, that is like my number one thing. That is who I am. I am a Mexican daughter. Whereas Rawan kind of said, oh, I'm a Middle Eastern woman. And Amna kind of shifted with, I am an evolving Bosnian American woman, right? Moving out, being engaged. She's in like this turn of life. And that is so interesting because that is how we define ourselves. And I'm interested in like how, you know, not that other people's opinion mattered, but how they perceive us as women. And Dan, I'm curious as to, you know, if you were to think of 3 traits for yourself, how would you define yourself? And I'm sure that we could like connect the dots to it being connected to a woman, whether that be a son or a brother. But I'll let you answer. And then I think it's just so interesting that in all of our answers, we are tied to a woman or inspired by a woman or inspired by each other in some form.
Yeah, when you first asked that question, I think you said what qualities define you?
Or what traits?
What traits?
Yeah. Like, who are you? I am a daughter of Mexican immigrants.
Yeah, when you say who are you, right away I say I am the son of a Peruvian immigrant. Like that's a major part of what defines me at my core, what defines my goals in life, what defines the trajectories and how I want to give back. Yeah, that's like first and foremost for me.
I wonder what the experience would have been if your dad was the Peruvian and your mom was the...
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
I just like wonder, like, you're like,
Yeah, probably would have flipped a lot.
Because like what my mom always says is like, she would say, the reason why you guys still speak Arabic is because I spoke to you in Arabic at home all the time. Your dad is always out working, doing everything. My mom still worked too, but I feel like my dad worked like slightly more than her when we were growing up. And so she took on that role of, you need to speak the language. You will continue to speak it. I'm going to be the one speaking it to you kind of thing. So I just wondered if it was like the flip side, how that would be. Yeah,
you got me curious too, especially with like Hispanic machismo, you know.
That's like a whole nother.
Yeah, because my dad is like the softest, like he's a rose petal. That dude is soft as hell. So sweet. So it's been interesting to have that.
She's the machismo? Is that how you're probably not.
No, she's definitely like the tough one though. I mean, she had to be because of the world she came from.
Of course.
Same for her grandma. I was thinking about that while you're all talking, because my womanliness examples come from the generations of having to be a lot of things. My grandma was a single mother and had a few men in her life that came and went, but she had to be the provider for, I think it was 8 kids. And then my mom has that same energy where she's tough and she's got to be the provider. My dad is so soft, or he's sweet and whatever, so she becomes the powerful, dominant energy, the matriarch. I don't know where I was going, but that's what I was thinking.
Those are the qualities that define, one of the qualities that define you is being the son of a Peruvian immigrant.
Yeah. And then some other qualities also lay into like how like that Peruvian woman raised me. So some of the stuff that I would say is like driven. I want to say patient as well, because that was kind of needed with my mom's high energy. Yeah. I got a question to change the topic if you're all open.
Let's hear it.
How would you have defined womanliness when you were children? When you were a young, say, 9-year-old girl, if you're looking up to the women in your life, what would you say that's a woman?
For me, it was Barbies. I played with Barbies religiously.
That was
as
a woman?
child.
You didn't look at your mom, your aunts, your like grandma and say,
I mean, I did. For sure. Well, both my grandmas passed away before I was born, so but my grandpa did get remarried, so she took on the role of grandma. But besides that, yeah, I feel like TV, like all those things
Pop
were
culture.
what played into it. I wasn't really paying it. I don't think I was like developed enough to be thinking like, well, maybe I did. Because when I think about it, like I would watch my mom like getting dressed for like an event or something, and I would like watch her and like want to do the same thing, and I would like be like dabbling in her makeup or in her jewelry or in her shoes or just like things like that. And that's what I thought was an example of womanliness, was my mom.
This is a question for everybody. Were you taught to be a woman? Were there words like, hey, come here, Rawan, come here, Amna, come here, Maxine?
Oh no.
This is how to be a woman.
No, it's kind of like unspoken for Arabs. Like you don't talk about, even like going through like puberty and all of that stuff. I had no clue, and I was like, it was like embarrassing almost, and like I would never come to my mom for any of it, kind of thing. So I always think like if I were to ever have children, that's something I would want them to be like comfortable coming up to me and like talking to me about it, because I was like super ashamed to tell my mom anything that was like going on with like my body that was changing. I was just like
It was almost just like awkward.
Oh, extremely.
Like it never felt like a welcoming environment. You kind of had to figure it out on your own. At least that was like my experience.
Yeah, I think I just like told her one time that I got my period. I don't even know if it was my first time that I got it, and I just like told her, and she was like, okay, cool, like do you know what to do? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, all right, great. Yeah, it was like pretty like anticlimactic. And I'm like talking to my cousins, and like my aunt, like when my cousin told my aunt that she had hers, like I guess she like told my mom and told my other aunt, and she was like, why would you tell everybody? It's like so embarrassing. So it's just like a very weird like cultural thing.
Yeah.
But
that's so funny. I feel like I actually had the opposite experience. It was very, like I mentioned though, I felt like I learned a lot through my mom and my grandmas through like observation. But that didn't stop me or shy me away from like talking to them. Everything was like very open conversation. But on the topic of periods, it reminded me of a story. Like I had gotten my period, and my mom like made me a basket and like talked to me how like my emotions are gonna change and like everything's normal, like all this stuff. But then like
That's
literally the next week, no, it was a dream. She's the best. But the like next week, our front door neighbor, who are also immigrants from a different background though, the mom is like they're just like grabbing the mail, you know, when you just like find each other and you just like look across the street, and the mom across the street, our neighbor, yells, has Maxine gotten her period yet? Like this girl just got her period. I'm like not saying her name because like I'm like scared she'll like find out, but and like yelling across the road, and out in my head God. I was like, oh my God, like that is the most humiliating thing. But you know, I think that just like comes to show like with every culture it's like so different. Like you guys are saying, it was so like secretive and like nobody needs to know, whereas like in this culture, it was an Asian culture, they were like, let's talk about it, like did it happen, like you got to let me know what you bought for her, like all this type of stuff.
It's so funny.
It's so interesting. But then again, it goes back to like kind of probably how they grew up, and they're just kind of taking that on, you know, not wanting to adapt to, I guess, like the ever-changing, you know, world, and find a new way to, I guess, deal with it, which is so interesting.
Maxine, you've talked about how your parents were really intentional to be able to write a lot for you. Did they ever like do more to say, here's what it means to be a woman?
You know, again, I don't remember being like told like this is what a woman should do from my parents. Perhaps from my grandmas a bit more. They were more traditional. They, you know, had one grandma had 5 kids, another grandma had 9 kids. And I remember just like being in awe of like them doing the laundry and then cooking and then taking out the trash. And I mean, even to this day, I still have one grandma. I'm like, how did you like take care of 5 kids, do the laundry, cook and clean and everything. And she was like, honey, I had to wash like all the clothes by hand.
Can't be
And
the
she
same
just
24
says-
hours.
Yeah, like
It
can you
can't be.
imagine having a washing machine? That is insane. But and then she just kind of like ends it with like, you know, that's what it means to be a mom, or that's what it means to be a woman. So I guess in that sense, but she does it so gracefully where I'm just kind of like amazed by it. And that's kind of how it comes about. But they don't tell me like, you need to clean because you're the woman. But maybe internally, I like do all those things because I've watched them do it all so gracefully and peacefully.
I think I just want to say, like, for me, also as a child, what I like thought of as womanless is because I have an older brother, so it was always like in comparison to what he can do versus like what I can do. You're a girl, so you can't do A, B, C, and D. Meanwhile, my brother can do literally whatever he wants. So it was a constant like, if he can get away with it, sometimes I could get away with it, but most of the time, because he's a boy, he can do whatever. But because I'm a girl, like I can't. Like I would go, like even when I got older and I could like go out, like he would, like if I were to go out and stay late, like he would have to be there as well, kind of thing. And I was like, well, that's not fair. And one night he like didn't want to go out and I did. And I was like, what do you mean you don't want to go out tonight? You go out every weekend and now you want to sit here? Like get up. Like you have to go out because then you ruin my chances to like go and have a good time kind of thing. So a lot of it was the differences between like being like a girl and a boy or a man and a woman. It just depended on like what he was able to do versus what I was able to do kind of thing. So
even with a younger brother, I had the
Same thing?
Same thing. I used to get in trouble if he got in trouble because it was my fault. I wasn't taking care of him.
Oh,
Yep. And
But
then
it's crazy because my brother never got in trouble. Like if I did something, like my brother got off like scot-free. Like she never said like, oh, that's your fault.
no,
Oh.
I was always the one to blame. I mean, because I was the oldest, so they seemed it as, and like I feel like I took on that parental role kind of when I was younger too. To
What's the
take
age
care.
difference?
5 years.
Yeah, okay.
So I kind of, you know, was his babysitter in a sense because my parents were working or doing other things like that. So I was the one that was watching him. So if he did something bad, I got in trouble for it. And I remember growing up, we used to always argue because I would always have to clean my room and help my mom with other stuff and clean the living room and do all this other stuff. Meanwhile, my brother doesn't do anything because he's a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, he doesn't know how. Even to this day.
Wait till he gets married.
I know.
And then his wife will whip him into shape.
I know.
Because my brother started cleaning everything and I'm like, who is this man?
Yeah.
I don't know him. Where was that energy when you lived here?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. My mom still to this day cleans his room and I'm like, girl,
No.
just let it become a landfill and then he'll get so disgusted by it he'll have to clean it. But that's just how it always was, you know, like, you know, the man doesn't do it. And I saw that growing up too. Like my mom took on all like the Western roles of like, you know, working, taking that on, taking care of her kids, cooking, cleaning, laundry, all that stuff, but also serving the man.
Yeah.
So it was like a mix of both things. And like, I remember just growing up and being so, I would see that and recognize, you know, my mom being a woman, taking on the womanly role, you know, being a caretaker, provider for her kids, all that stuff. But then also like on the flip side of that, being so exhausted because she's doing all that stuff.
And you probably don't want that for yourself,
No, and
kind of thing.
that's where the mindset shifted. Like, you know, with my future partner one day, like if we're taking on like roles where we both work and we're both taking burdens of our own sorts, it has to be like a compromise of, you know, equality in the house. It can't just be you get to go and do whatever and then I have to serve you just because you're a man. No.
I wish I would.
Yeah.
Dan is like noted.
No, that all makes sense to me. My mom raised me a little bit differently. Like she would actively say, "Don't do this to your wife when you get married."
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Man, what was it? I think it was doing dishes or something like that. She was like, "Daniel, look at this. Don't do this to your wife. Look at what your dad does. Don't do this when you get married. Be better about it."
What did she say? Pigs in the jungle don't do this or something? What
Oh,
did she
yeah.
always-
No, like,
What is? I forgot the reference that you would say.
yeah, even the pigs in the jungle will do that. So,
Yeah.
like, Like when I'd come home and not say hi to her, and then,
Yeah.
like, not saying hello when you walk, and she's like, "What? No, even the pigs of the jungle come and say hello. You gotta better say hi to me every single time." Everybody was saying this, but it's like solidifying in my mind. It sounds like a part of womanliness is never resting. You're always cooking, cleaning, providing like other things, and it's like the man gets to rest because that's your job as the woman, to help him rest and relax.
It's exhausting being a woman.
Yeah, the mental load.
I will say it in any setting, it's exhausting because we have to take on so many roles, and we're expected. There's so much expected of us, and then tied down with all of like the outside societal pressure of not being womanly enough, or being like almost like too womanly, and then like the whole like Me Too, sexual harassment, all that stuff that we also have to deal with. It can be a lot. Sometimes you just want to like curl up and just, I always say like, man, if I was a man, my mom always says that. Me and my mom, man, if we were men, we could just
do nothing.
We could just do this, but we're not. So here we are.
Turn that Beyonce song all the way up.
Yeah. But then again, at the same time, I also love being a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I just wanted to point something that you mentioned. I had an experience the other day, and it kind of, I had this topic on my mind because we were going to record, and I was thinking about it after the situation happened. I was like, damn, this is womanliness. But I like to go to like Marshalls, TJ Maxx, I just, even if I don't need anything, I like to browse, like just look at the cute stuff, And the other day I went, and, it's like 6 o'clock. It's dark outside because we live in Michigan. It's freezing. So it's like dark. It's already kind of creepy. I'm already on edge because I'm out alone shopping, You always hear these stories. So you just gotta be extra careful. And I'm just browsing, looking at the shoes. And then this guy was like, find anything good yet? And in my mind, instantly, I'm like, okay, do I be nice or do I be a bitch? Because like, you never know someone's intentions, And whatever, he was just like chatting, and then I was like, okay, like, see ya. And then I like made sure that he left before like I continued like going further in the store, and then I was just like on hyper vigilance because of that. And it's just like, that is so sad that like this is what like society has come to, that like as a woman you never feel kind of safe in a sense, and kind of
Absolutely.
How you mentioned like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if you don't do something, like you're a bad person. If you do something, it's still not enough. Like, and then just going back to that, like you just always have to have your guard up no matter what it is. Even if it's like a man talking to you in a random place, or like someone chit-chatting with you, like a female. It's just so, it's so exhausting.
I was listening to I think it was a round table of a movie that had came out with, I believe like Saoirse Ronan and a bunch of other men. I don't remember what the movie was. And she was talking about, they asked a question about something about a woman, and all the guys were like chatting and like throwing in their 2 cents. And then literally she said, you don't have to worry about like getting assaulted just walking down the street. And she kind of basically like shut all of the men up, and they were all like,
You're right.
and like couldn't say anything kind of thing. And they literally, I think it put it into perspective for all of those men that typically aren't like thinking in the perspective of a woman. Because I mean, for me, it's even difficult to put my perspective as a man, and I'm sure like men have their struggles as well, and all these things. But it's just like funny to watch them all be like, oh.
Yeah, I've never thought about that.
Yeah, I've never had to worry about that. I'm sure like you do in certain situations, but it's like for us, it's like almost in all situations when you're just shopping at Marshalls or whatever. Don't sponsor us, Marshalls. We love you.
And it feels like you have to, this is another thing too with like working out, for example. You feel like the attention is always on you because, for example, like I'm a big people watcher. So like, again, I watch men and older men and how they look at females at the gym and how they interact and, how they do their thing. And you pick up on it, like how they look at certain women that are dressed a certain way. And is just so disgusting. Like, even if it's not happening to you, it's just so disgusting to see, like, how even like the simplest thing that you do, what you wear to the gym, or like what you're doing specifically at the gym or in public or just in general, is just like perceived a different way just because of your gender.
Yeah. You can't do a squat to...
Yeah. And it's just like, and then that's like, you, instead of like doing something that's beneficial for you, like going to work out and getting ready, you have to think, well, is this too revealing or too tight, or like, is someone gonna look at me weird, or am I, you know? And it's just like this constant, endless cycle of worry to an
God
extent.
save you, Rawan.
Mhm.
Thank you. That was like a mean one too.
But I also want to highlight the positive, because it's not all negative. Just like, you know how we talk about like the immigrant experience in general, and it's so easy to focus on the negative stuff. But I think on the flip side of that, there is so much positive that comes out of that. Like, I think it's great that we can acknowledge, where the society pressures lie, and kind of be aware of it and shift our perspective, and kind of have that ever-changing like mindset to grow and be better as women in general and as a society. But I also think like being a woman and just like the different phases of life that you can go through is so amazing and so powerful.
Absolutely.
The fact that like you can be like a teenager and then hit puberty and then become like find yourself and become a woman and like accomplish so much and become a mother and a grandmother, and like just the different phases of life is just so cool. Like you could literally do it all if you really wanted to.
And
Period. And
Yeah.
that's on women.
And our fashion is better.
Facts.
Like I can't imagine.
Man,
just
honestly, I think about that a lot. I'll be shopping for men's fashion, like, why the fuck is like everything female so much cooler? Like, look at these shoes. I get like 3 styles. Women get all the cool shit.
Yeah.
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 I always wondered
so
what
cool.
men would do without women in this world.
Kill.
Oof.
We fight a lot.
It'll be the end of the world.
It's definitely difficult being a woman. Lots of challenges that we have to overcome, but it's also so empowering for ourselves and also the people around us. And with that, are you guys okay if I kind of close it off with a quote
Put a bow
about
on
womanhood?
Please.
All right, it says, I stand on the sacrifices of 1 million women before me, thinking, what can I do to make this mountain taller so the woman after me can see farther? I think as especially women, immigrant women, children of immigrants, even you, Dan, I think this like really stands out because we are here to further improve womanhood, and again, not just for us, but for the people around us. I think it can be super empowering for everybody, and like that's what Immigrantness is all about, right? And here we are empowering each other. I love that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Go and appreciate the women in your life a little extra today.
Give a kiss to your mother. Give a kiss to your
March
partner.
8th is coming up for like the International Women's Day.
And my birthday.
Oh, yay.
Thank you all for the conversation. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for putting a bow on top, Maxine. Everybody, have a good week. Have a good month.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Foreign Footprints.
Continue on your path to growth and immigrantness.